All right, so I tried doing an update earlier today, and I thought that it went through, and I thought that I uploaded it and all that, but I didn't, and now it's gone. So I'm going to kind of recap the update from this afternoon and give you another one for tonight because I'm far too lazy to type, and it is 3:30 in the morning here in Armenia, and need to get some sleep because our tours start at like 10 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. So. Anyway, this afternoon, after the post that I made eating breakfast, after I actually woke up, we went out and saw the Armenian Genocide Memorial. Um, the Armenian Genocide Memorial was very, very, very moving, and it was a sight like I wouldn't have imagined it being that way, and I don't think anybody else really did. It was very cool. It was up at the top of like this plateau that overlooked basically all of Yerevan, and it was a grassy area, a really large grassy area that was paved in like granite walking stones, and there are a lot of evergreen trees planted throughout there in memory of the people who died in the genocide in 1915, and they're planted by different dignitaries. I saw one by Bob Dole, which I took a picture of, and you'll see in the pictures when I get them up there. Um, anyway, you'd walk all the way down, and there was this big kind of inverted funnel, Stonehenge-looking thing with an eternal flame in the middle when you would walk down into the inside of it, and that was really, really moving because we saw residents from Armenia come in, and the people were very, very emotional, and they would place flowers in a line around the outside of the around the outside of the ring surrounding the eternal flame. So aside from that, there was a museum down there. They did not like photography in that museum, but there were some really disturbing pictures of people being hanged and tales of children being raped and mothers drowning their own children to avoid the Turks raping them and things like that. It was tough for people to see. My grandpa got very visibly upset and left. I haven't seen him that upset since my grandma died. And so it was tough. It really brought out a lot of emotions in a lot of people. Other than that, after we came home, I asked to be let out on the street where we saw some pretty cool shops and whatnot. And we ended up going into this this closed market, like this warehouse where there was a fruit market, and there were just crazy fruits, apricots, wrapping nuts and packed together, and a lot of dried fruits, tons and tons of flies, tons of bees, and it was very, very, very dirty, like visibly dirty, and it smelled, and it was awful. Story of the day was there was a man with a tank with huge fish in him, like 3-foot long fish, and when we asked about the fish, he reached in and stabbed at one and pulled it out with his hand and beat it over the head with a club, and until it was bleeding everywhere, threw it into a bucket and asked for 2,200 dirham. It was definitely like a once in a lifetime to see something like that, so it was weird. Went to a lot of shops. I'm noticing a lot of things about Armenian culture and fashion and all that. The men, I think I've said this before, the men are generally not very good looking and kind of dress like slobs and just don't look very good and definitely don't smell very good. But the women as a general rule look great. They look great through and through. They're beautiful, and they are dressed to a T, makeup and clothes and all that. Pretty dressed for high fashion, and everybody seems to be into that. They don't tend to look at you, and maybe it's just me, but they've got really like stoic looks on their faces and don't really talk to anybody. Kind of seems like the people here don't want to put up with us being here. It seems like they're not very friendly. Outside the hotel where I think they have to be, but they don't seem to want to put up with us, and they don't seem to want to deal with us. So for dinner tonight, we went to Old Yerevan on the recommendation of Tali and Hitik, and she basically said it was the place that my grandpa would want to be. It's the only place that would play traditional Armenian folk music, which is what we're used to hearing in the States. And he went in there demanding it, and they said there's not enough room on the second floor where that's happening, so you need to make a reservation. Well, he argued and argued and argued and was a pain about it. And we got moved up to the 7th floor into the wedding banquet room, which was a beautiful room. And you'll see pictures of that as well. And they had the bands, all the different individual acts, come up during their breaks, up through the elevator, bring their instruments, set up, and play for us. So we had a table of 14 by ourselves with private entertainment and a 5-course meal, all for $15 American a head. And it was, it ended up being, it went from being really stressful to being really, really cool, and something I don't think that we could have substituted. So it was really awesome. After dinner, Brooke and I stayed back and just decided to check out the area surrounding the Opera House, which was right across the street. And we've heard that that's kind of the place to be, and we checked it out. And there were dozens of open-air bars, and in stark contrast to the streets that were so, dirty and beggars and stray dogs and all that, this area was very posh. It was very upscale. There were American jazz clubs. There were billiards, open-air outdoor billiard halls. Everything was extremely clean, well-lit, well-decorated. The restaurants served great food and great drink at incredibly cheap prices, and tons of nightclubs, tons of open-air bars and stuff like that. It seemed like we should have been in L.A. So didn't actually dive into it tonight. We just kind of walked around to see what it was. Took a cab back to the hotel, which the cab driver wanted 600 dirham, which is $2 American right now. And we were expecting it to be much more, and he thought that he was kind of cheating us. So I gave him 800 dirham, and he seemed like he said, "God bless you," and whatever. And so it's just perspective on money and how people live here and what they're actually making and all that. Other than that, I just came back from having a beer out in front, and one of the girls at the cafe was talking about how, to live here they need to make basically $800 in a month, American. And it's weird because you look at the contrast between what people make who travel here and what they can live on here, and it's kind of makes you wonder, well, if you have the money and you didn't mind throwing it out there, why wouldn't you throw it out there and let them, I don't know. It's weird. I'm also in the midst of it, so whatever. It's a late night. I'm rambling, and I don't have time to type or get pictures up right now, but I will do that tomorrow afternoon. So I will get the pictures up from today and edit them in this post, and then we'll move on with tomorrow's post. So that is all from Yerevan. Good night.